All right. Welcome, everybody. It says I'm live. I think that means I'm live. We're back at it again. Episode 10. I can hardly believe it, you know? It just seems like yesterday that we started getting together and listening to me talk about D&D and role-playing games and all that sort of thing. It's pretty wild. I have some really sad news, though. It's pretty tragic stuff, and that is I went to the shop and save, and they were out of Geviette, right? No Geviette, so that means that's just not right? Can't it just doesn't feel the same without my favorite beer from Poland, the future sponsor of the podcast. So we got the nice Southern Tier 2X. It's probably one of my other favorite beers, though. It's a delicious little guy. I did make a really good turkey sandwich about 15 minutes ago. It was the first meal I ate, and it was really good. So since I don't have any Geviette, then our sponsor for this week is the turkey sandwich I just ate. It's pretty good. So we'll have to write a nice letter to Hillshire Farms, see if we can get that sweet honey turkey. Oh, my weekly honey turkey. Oh man, we're gonna be talking about bards in this one. Bards are completely insane, right? Bards are the Hawkeye of D&D, right? If all of the Avengers have classes and stuff, Hawkeye would be a bard. He's not a ranger, guys. He's not a ranger. He's a bard. He doesn't have real powers. He's just a dude out there with a bow, and the Avengers just recruiting all their members from sporting goods stores and shit. That's pretty much how the bard is, right? It's like whenever you're assembling the adventuring party in the tavern and everybody meets up, and everybody comes in and you're assembling the party in the tavern, and you need one more person, so it's well, I guess we'll bring the traveling minstrel along, and that's how the bard enters the party. No, but seriously, bard's a cool class. And it's kind of been around a long time. I gotta say, I didn't get to... Oh god, what's happening? I didn't get to look up the history of the bard. I haven't really read anything about it. I just remember people always saying, I think it's bard. So, back in the day, when you played D&D and you were rolling up your character and everything, you rolled your stats straight through. That was the way that it was sort of meant to be done. Was you started at the top, you rolled your strength score, you rolled your dex score, you rolled your con score, or whatever, so on and so forth down the line, and then based on what you rolled, you could pick your class, right? So if you had a high enough strength score, you could be a fighter or a barbarian. If you had a high enough intelligence, you could be a wizard or whatever. And I think it came up later on. It might have been a prestige class even, or something that was even more advanced beyond that. But if you killed it and you had super nasty stats, you could play a bard, right? Because you had to have charisma, you had to have other stuff, and it was like a reward. It was like a treat. It was like a super powered class. I'm pretty sure. In third edition, there was a prestige class called the Focalon or Fauchelon Lyricist, and I think it was sort of like an homage to the classic bard. What the Focalon Lyricist was, it gave you the full attack bonus progression. It had almost a full spellcasting progression. and then it had abilities. It had like a ranger like abilities that went along with it. But you had to have like, you couldn't even start taking levels in the class until you were like 12th level or something like that. But it did make your character really freaking powerful, because you had as good of an attack bonus as a fighter, and you had almost the same spellcasting ability as like a 9th level caster, or like having like 9th level spells. I think you could get like 9th level spells with it. And it's just kind of like, it just sort of like bears the question is like, why? Like, why is the Bard? Why did they make the Bard such a badass in those earlier editions? And I don't know if there's a good reason for it or not. It's cool. I like the idea of it. Where's the rest of the gang tonight? Where's everybody hiding? Where's my usual crew? Yeah. So fun stuff. Let's get drawn. Let's start making some stuff. We'll talk about Bard. I think I need to open my driver here really quick. So that's kind of the history of the Bard. I mean, obviously, like, what the Bard is supposed to be is like this traveling minstrel type dude who, goes around, writes stories, gets into weird misadventures. A lot of Bard characters, or a lot of classes that enter into Dungeons and Dragons have a really iconic character from a book or a movie that then gets like made into the class, right? Conan the Barbarian. We had to talk about Conan a whole lot last week, and when we talked about barbarians. But it's like, who's the iconic Bard? Is it like Chaucer, right? Are we doing like Canterbury Tales? Is that what it is? I'm not too sure. If we're doing Chaucer, it makes me think of the movie A Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger, right? It's not a super great movie, but it's like a fun time. Like, if that movie's on, it's like, okay, sure, I'll watch A Knight's Tale. It's kind of got like that sort of feel to it, where it's not really great, but it's on. A Knight's Tale and Blade 2, right? Blade 2 is another great example of that. If there's nothing else on, but Blade 2 is on TNT or whatever, you're going to just end up watching Blade 2. Let's get ourselves a new canvas. I want to create. Let's draw ourselves the new iconic Bard. That's what we're going to do. So, get ourselves some layers going. Oh, man. Let's see. Uh-oh. Am I zooming in? And why is that happening? Should just be brush size. There we go. Okay. But yeah, Bards, right? In 3.5, in 3rd edition, my favorite Bard feature was that they came proficient with the whip, right? They came proficient with the weapon, the whip. No other class came with whip proficiency except for your friend, the Bard, which is kind of like hilarious and awesome. Because also, if you're familiar with 3rd edition, the whip was awesome, right? You could do a lot of crazy shenanigans with the whip. So it was pretty sweet. They had decent spells, they could heal people, which is always like useful, having that extra healer. They could kind of do like some fighting stuff as well. So, also I think they got the most skills, or second most skills. I think the rogue probably had the most skills. In 5th edition, they just sort of make it so that everybody has roughly the same amount of skills. It's kind of good. It's probably better that way. get ourselves going. My setup for drawing right now is just not ideal. I gotta move some stuff around here, everybody. Sorry for the noise. I gotta pull my monitor forward and get my microphone out of my hands here. But yeah, what's your favorite? Matt's got a good little. Matt's got a nice little Bard story there, right? I'm sure everybody has a Bard story. But the thing is, right, that's kind of what, that was kind of my thumbnail sort of joke, right, is why does everybody cringe when someone says that they're going to play a Bard? And it's because at some point, everybody all has that same Bard story, right? Everybody wants to play the Bard that is going to seduce and fast talk and have the silver tongue and do all that sort of thing. And I'm not going to lie, it's kind of for me, it's a little bit of a tired trope. I think everybody should do it once. It's just like what we were talking about last time with the Barbarian, you know? When you play the Barbarian, you got to play that one Barbarian who's just dumb as a brick and talks in stammering, broken common. And you got to do it one time. You do it one time, you get it out of your system, and then, you go on and you play better D&D after that. You realize that there's maybe more beyond just doing it that way. So do it once, play the fast talking, cheating. That's an interesting point. The music, man. Gary, Indiana. Gary, Indiana's a scary place, guys. Could be the music, man. Or who else is in musicals and stuff that's a super iconic person? I like that idea. We're gonna give this guy a hat. I feel like all bards should probably be wearing a hat. He's got a cone head going on right now. Beep. Hit that elbow move. We'll talk about Wings Above, giving me those sweet, sweet drawing tips. Doing things using my elbow here a little bit. But the Bard. The Bard, as it stands now, still has a lot of skills, has great spells, does a lot of things, gets cool, gets the colleges, which are really neat, that just sort of can make them into a lighter version of another class. So big utility there. They might be able to fight and get sneak attack and cool little class features like that. Definitely can dig it. I think it's a big improvement. But I think what's really important here, and maybe what we should do, there's plenty of other people out there who talk about the mechanics of each class and ways of making the best version. Doing air quotes there when I say best version. The best version, super optimized version of each class. But killing monsters and stuff is cool, and it is an important part of D&D, but a common theme on this channel is how are we going to heighten that role play? How are we going to boost that up? How do we go from being our stereotypical seducer? I feel funny because I just said seducer, and then I'm about to draw a cool guy goatee on this elf. So what do? How do we take the Bard up a notch, right? One Bard that I do really enjoy, shout out to my players in the lands above, we have Jack the Bard, right? And Jack's player, he's not in here now. Should totally get him in here, though. Steve's a really cool guy. Shout out to Steve. But Jack, rather than being all about, actually, you know what though, it's funny because he kind of does do the seducing women thing. He didn't do it on purpose though. I kind of like, actually, it was my fault, so I did it to myself. But when I started the Lands Above, it's a game where everybody started off as a hiree of like a noble lady who is funding people for a rebellion, right? She funds adventurers to go on like these dangerous delves so that they can get treasure and she can fund the rebellion, right? So they raid these old tombs and stuff, and then uses the gold that she finds to outfit militias and hire mercenaries and things like that. And so the players were brought together by her to go and go on adventures and like quest and dig up treasure and hunt monsters and do all that sort of thing for her, do random jobs, D&D shit, right? And when we started out, right, the player, the character Jack, is his bardic instrument is hammer dulcimer, right, which is like a huge instrument where you're hitting these like piano wires with mallets and stuff, and it's a really awesome instrument, but it's definitely not the kind of thing that you can carry with you to go in and delve into dungeons with. But he decided that was going to be what he took with him, or what he's best at. And the very first roll of the game, of this campaign that we've been playing for several months at this point, was him throwing a nat 20 on his performance roll with the hammer dulcimer. And that is how that was the very first roll of the entire campaign. And so they're standing like in the court of Lady Stillkite, who was their boss. And she is just moved to tears by Jack's performance, right? And because of that, she does love Jack, right? She's all about him, or is at least fascinated by him. Plot twist, though, fast forward to where we are now in the Lands Above. She's dead. Yeah, she got murdered. That happens sometimes, too. But Jack, as a character, though, isn't out to do rando, typical Bard stuff, right? He's out hunting for his kidnapped daughter. So again, like right away, whenever you have things that involves your character's family, it gives them very clear, definite motives to go out and adventure and explore and mess stuff up, whether it's hunting for like a lost loved one or, oh man, what if you did like a whole, this is a thing, right? This is the next Bard I play, guys. It's entirely based on the Partridge Family, right? And it's all about getting the band back together, right? It's literally a dude who's used to play in a family band, and his family has been separated, and he's just like venturing around the world to reunite his long lost like family members in the family band. That's totally what we're doing with. That's how that's gonna go. I'm committing to it. I'm sticking with it. I think it's great. Big Partridge Family right there. All about the Partridge Family. I've literally never watched an episode. I have no idea what the Partridge Family is about, other than they're a band and they're like hippies or something like that. Oh shit. Dropping stuff, throwing things on the ground. Oh my god. Anybody got any good Bard stories? Anybody want to call in? I don't have the Podbean open right now, but I do have this fancy schmancy new Discord. So I think maybe I could do some callers here. You guys can call in and stuff. We can get you in on the Discord and do it that way. It might be a little bit easier than the Podbean. Might be able to get some more people in here because Podbean's a really cool app, and I enjoyed using it and stuff, but it is a little bit unwieldy because you do have to have like a phone and headphones and microphone and stuff. That's just like a lot of extra work. Oh my gosh. Oh, bards. Another character that I always think of every time Bard gets mentioned is they're definitely like not a bard, but just the name Bard, which is the name of the dude in The Hobbit who shoots a black arrow into Smaug, right? And that's totally cool and great. And I think that's actually maybe like I'll never forget. I was really young. I was probably 5 or 6 years old when I first saw the Rankin and Bass Hobbit movie, right? And if you haven't seen the original animated Hobbit, I think it's from '77. It's fantastic. You should watch it. I love the art. I love everything about it. Members of Rankin and Bass actually went on. Don't quote me on this. I just read it on the Wikipedia once, and I hope I'm like recalling it correctly. But members of Rankin and Bass later went on to form Studio Ghibli, right? Which is awesome because, you know, obviously Miyazaki's great. You know, I love my Princess Mononoke and Kiki's Delivery Service and all that sort of stuff. That's really good quality inspiration, especially if you're looking for plots for things that go just beyond fighting and killing. You got to look to Miyazaki for that stuff, right? Usually goes way beyond that, especially for things that are just like nice and simple, where it's like, man, I really don't want to like have to deal with some heavy stuff right now, but I would like to see a witch fly around on a broom and like do some odd jobs and just make some friends and have a really cool time. And just like, you know, hangs out. Sometimes we talk about other RPGs besides Dungeons and Dragons, and there's an RPG that's out there that I've kind of like, oh god, I wasn't expecting to make that many layers. I've had it sitting on my shelf. I got it in Portland. I knew it was out there, and when I went to visit somebody, so the thing about the Lord of the Rings, I think, oh man, so the thing is with the Lord of the Rings movie and like Fellowship of the Ring and stuff, those were also made by Ralph Bakshi, and Ralph Bakshi is awesome. I'm a big fan of Ralph Bakshi. Ralph Bakshi was like a pioneer of adult cartoons, like this idea that you could make cartoons that would be geared towards adults. That's all Ralph Bakshi. He made a animated feature called Wizards, which is great. If you've never watched Wizards, you should go and sprint to the nearest place where you can buy beer, get a lot of it, maybe some other things too, and just like go and enjoy watching Wizards. It's super weird and like kind of messed up. Ralph Bakshi did a lot of stuff with rotoscope, and what rotoscoping is where you take live action film and you just draw over it, right? He had another great another great animated feature called Fire and Ice, which is like a really cool. It's also like very D&D, like it's not that D&D. It's not like high fantasy, right? It's like sword and sorcery kind of stuff, like Conan the Barbarian, where it's like low magic, and it's the kind of stuff that I like, and it was definitely a big influence on me. See, I don't like it when everybody just gets to be a happy wizard and they solve all their problems with spells, right? I don't like it when I'm playing D&D and everybody can just solve everything because they know like magic words, and most of the people in the world just don't have access to those magic words, right? I think people should be out there solving the problems in the world with hard work and grit, and just having like 6 levels of fighter and going and killing all those mages who are probably hoarding gold and summoning monsters and holding down the common man, you know? That's kind of the thing that I like in my games. And that's what you see in Conan. That's what you see in Fire and Ice. Honestly, that's what you see in Lord of the Rings as well. The wizards are the bad guys, except for Gandalf. Okay, we're going way off topic from bards here. And this bard that I'm drawing is starting to look... He looks more like Link if whenever Link turns like 17 years old, and can like start growing like a goatee, eventually this guy's gonna go to college and he's gonna grow a chin strap. He's gonna have a chin strap for a while from the ages of 20 to 23, and eventually he'll quit that and just start growing a beard. That's his whole story, though. Ralph Bakshi, Lord of the Rings. So in rotoscope, right? So rotoscoping, that's what's one of the crazy things about in Lord of the Rings and Fellowship of the Rings and Two Towers. I don't know how many he did, but yeah, Link, but he's a gnome because he can get that sick facial hair. If you've ever seen those movies, right? Not the Hobbit ones, but the Bakshi ones. He rotoscoped the orcs, but like only like halfway. So it's like a bunch of random stage actors just wearing like poor costumes, you know? And they're all on these crazy, just like weird, foggy backgrounds, like running around. I remember renting it from Blockbuster, and I watched it and I didn't like it back then. And then later on, I just like got older and realized that it was really sick. And then I'm like, this is actually the best thing ever. So I'm a huge Bakshi fan. Wizards, if you have it, like I said, if you're not familiar with Wizards, you should definitely watch it. It was his attempt to make a animated feature for children. And, you know, he maybe did it. You know, everybody played it fast and loose with cartoons back in those days. It was like, this is fine. This is okay. It's animated, so obviously it's for kids, right? That's how Wizards was. Oh man, I'm going way off topic here. I want to talk about Plague Dogs and Watership Down, because those are also two huge personal influences of mine in everything that I do. But I'm not gonna do that, and I'm gonna try to come back and talk more about bards, because that's what this episode's supposed to be about, is bardic lore, right? That was the bard class feature back in the day, is they got bardic lore, and they knew, just like they could know like random stuff about everything. I don't think they have that anymore, which is kind of crazy to me. Bardic lore was sick. We're going nuts. All right, I'm on my second 2X right now. I'm on my second Southern tier right now, so we're gonna get rid of this guy. We're getting rid of edgy Link, sad Link, and we're just gonna start we're doing it right. Oh no, I can't do it on the background layer though. Fuck. So, bards, man. How do we not play them where they're just like seducers? Oh man, dude, Chris, we wings above, man. We should hang out, man. We should just like, I don't know where you're at normally. I'll have to hit you up after this. We should just like hang out and drink some beers and watch some movies sometime, dude. You got it, man. I should have met you. Like you went to where I went to school, I think, right? And with like Ryan. So, man, that sucks, man. I wish I would have met you back then. We could have hung out and played some really awesome D&D and stuff. Glad I met you now, though. Bards. So we want to get them away from just being general seducers and like crappy kind of people like that. So, rather than doing that big bravado kind of stuff, I would immediately try to. Oh, okay. Oh, I knew that. No, we talked about that you went to school in Rochester. I knew that. Because one time we talked about. That makes sense, though. And I don't feel bad about it because there wasn't a way that I could have hung out with you easily. But we should probably hang out sometime. Anyway, bards, Jesus. There's so many things I want to say about them. Why don't are they still proficient with the whip? That's all that really matters. Like, how am I supposed to play my version of Indiana Jones, singing songs, stealing treasure, and all that sort of thing without my whip proficiency? You know, like that's all a guy really needs. But I think rather than going for that humor, right? That's how a lot of people end up playing the bard is that humor. How come nobody reaches for like the tragic bard? Dude who specializes in like tragedies and is kind of more like an emo guy, right? Nobody plays that bard, I don't think. And I think that would be a lot of fun, right? This guy just wants to play Bright Eyes covers and, you know, all that sort of thing. He only knows 3 chords. Ah, goodness. He's sad. I'll have to find the picture. I'm going to find the picture and I'll, like, put it somewhere later. But there's a band called ABC Diabolo. They're from Germany. They're a really great band. And one of their shirts, it's the artwork of one of their albums, is this dude like standing on a cliffside, just looking like really sad. And there's like a lady beside him, just like weeping. And they're just like, it looks like they've just traveled a long time. I think there's like a dragon. I don't know what the original piece of artwork is. But it's a great image and I just love that bard. It's like, you just be a serious bard, you know? You don't have to try to do the whole like seduce everything that walks sort of thing. Like, other cool bard types that I think would be sweet is Ichabod Crane, right? Ichabod Crane, Headless Horseman. Not a bard, really, but just like an investigator, right? Gets hired. You might want to have more of like a steampunk sort of setting for this, but someone who is like a paid investigator and goes around and travels like city to city, like trying to solve like murders and that sort of stuff, which means you have to be playing in a setting where there's like an established criminal justice system and people don't just like, you know, gather up a posse and go like do mob justice sort of stuff. But, you know, rather than traveling around as from being part of a band, like you're just like a traveling investigator sort of dude. I like that. I played that dude in a Ravenloft game that I was in briefly. And he just like listened to ghosts and just like went crazy all the time and wrote down like he did automatic writing was his whole thing. That was like, he didn't really play an instrument. His whole bardic thing was just like automatic writing. So he would like start freaking out and just like start drawing crazy symbols and like notes and stuff like that. And obviously, you know, you have to coordinate those sort of things with your DM and make sure they don't want you to go so far by the book that you can't do something cool like that. Oh gosh, guys. Jillian, thanks for dropping by. Good to see you. Good to hear from you. Good to read your name on a thing, I guess, is the appropriate thing. This guy, he's got like a guitar. It's fine. He looks like he's holding a guitar. He's still got the elf ears. Got to draw all of my bards as elves. Real quick. I'm gonna try and do a quick little Google search for ABC Diabolo here. Oh, dude, yeah, it comes right up. Bam. Okay, dude's got a lute. Yeah, this guy. Oh man, what a great. Oh, so good. Here we go. Good old discogs.com. Here, I'm going to post the link in the chat for you guys. Just so you know what I'm talking about, this picture. That's a bard to me. Like, whatever this guy's doing, just being very sad and, like, forlorn and staring off into the distance and stuff. Oh, that's good. This is not even a lute. I don't know what that is. It might be a lute. It's almost like a viola, maybe. Big fan of this piece of art, though. Wherever it came from, I think it's great. Okay, let's start talking about stuff. Let's go at the top. We did this one last time. We'll start playing. So first of all, let's start talking about how sick it would be. I think this is maybe the most redeeming thing about the Bard. I haven't really been talking that much trash about the Bard, but the all Bard party. Can you imagine the all Bard party for me, guys? It's going to be great. It's got to be awesome. There's so much. You would have oh my gosh. Imagine passing every single skill check that the DM calls you to throw. Right? Like, oh, got that perception roll. I have expertise in perception. Like, non-stop. Every possible roll. Somebody's got it, except for maybe like athletics, right? But there's got to be like one strong athletic bard there, right? One bard with the sailor background who's just like singing sea shanties and has just been rowing a boat for the last 10 years, so he's super strong and, you know, passes the athletics rolls for everybody. Oh, so good, right? And you guys know how I feel about skill checks too, like. I want everybody to pass skill checks, and sometimes it's like there's got to be this kind of like almost, if you fail the skill check, it's not that you don't find out, it's not that you don't get some sort of benefit, it's just like, what is the cost that it takes you to succeed? So if you roll poorly, like you still pass, but maybe it takes you a long time to do it. Or you have to like use some resources, or maybe you have to stay up late studying or something, so you can't take like a long rest, or you got to come up with interesting ways to still give all the players like the chance to reveal the information that you want them to have, but not just handing it out. You can't just hand it out to the players, right? They got to earn it. And I think that's maybe at the heart of role-playing games, and I've said this before, one of the things that we can do very well that computers and stuff like that can't do yet is when we're playing a game, analog games, right? Like not video games, rather than saying like pass or fail, because a computer can tabulate that very quickly, you got to ask like at what cost, right? What is the cost for the player to succeed at the skill check? Like, what are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to give up to pass, right? And I think if you had a party full of bards, it would be really fun. I think it would be really sick. You could have like literally a band, right? Like a band of people who play music together and are also like assassins or something, or like just dungeon delvers and stuff, and they write their own songs and sing about their own misadventures. Like, that's pretty cool, right? Yeah. Oh man, dude, is oh my gosh, is Brian Blair about to get in here? Oh, saying people's names. Oh man, I have a friend right now that I've been playing games with for like years, and he is currently stationed in like I don't know Guam or something. I don't know. It's not Guam. It's somewhere far away. And I'm hoping that he jumps in on this chat. That would be super sick because he's in like a very vastly different time zone. Um, so we got this going. I do need to wait for. You're right. There's another person who is like legitimately like a bard, pretty much professionally. About as professional as you can get is like a doctor of music, of piano playing. That's okay. Hold up. We'll do it. We'll do it here for a second. Let me see if I can find it. So that's the all bard party, though. You could be a band. You could all be from like different colleges. It's pretty much just kind of playing a heightened version of yourself in real life, right? Um, and then like what you would want to do on an adventure. Doctorate in barding, yeah, for real though. I have a very good picture of my friend out playing a tiny toy piano out in the street that I wanted to draw over, and I started to do it one day, and then I stopped because that's that's how it happens. Um, yeah. So let me pause. I'm gonna pause the stream, guys, for like 2 seconds, but I swear I'm not going anywhere, and I'll be right back. Um, okay, perfect, cool. So I'm back, and he sent me this picture. So this is like a performance that he did. Um, wearing his COVID mask out in the streets of San Diego, kneeling, pretty much kneeling on this tiny little bench, playing a toy piano, which is awesome. And let's kind of draw on it. Let's mess it up a little bit, right? I need a different color. I told him I was gonna do this. I started to work on a version of this, and then I stopped because I suck. Um, but this is definitely a project that I want to finish for my buddy and do a cool, some kind of cool like redrawing, retoying of this image. Okay, so that was the all bard party though. So let's talk about those sweet bardic multi-classes and what they might mean when you start to mix them together. So I guess the first one is if you're a bard and your multi-class is artificer, right? And this is cool. I think crafting like magical musical instruments is pretty sick. Um, that's definitely a cool thing that should be a thing. I think someone should play the bard artificer. Um, because I think artificer is not particularly like a charisma based character. Like I don't really think they need that charisma bonus that much, but that would be cool. It would just be fun to do. It's an interesting mix of classes, right? I'm imagining these sweet little like wind up music boxes that you could make, like having like the little like ballerina dancer that you like wind up and you place out there, and it like starts emanating some kind of like wicked magic effect. Or if you're the type of artificer that has like the magical turret, right? You have like this wind up music box thing that just blasts out like sonic damage. That's cool. I'm into that a lot. I think that would be a lot of fun. Get the scraggliness here going. Yeah, a Warforged Bard. Two different Warforged Bards that are just like giant music boxes that are basically player pianos. I'm all for that. That's awesome. Especially if you don't look human at all and you're literally like a player piano with like steampunk horse legs, and you're just like a piano walking around on legs, and then there's like another party member who like rescued you from like being a servant in some kind of like crazy tavern, right? That would be cool. That would be a lot of fun. And two of you are like a repurposed Warforged, where it's like I used to be a soldier, but now I got like reshaped into a giant player piano. That's real messed up. Oh man, yeah. Um, Sometimes player pianos are sick. I need to reread Player Piano by Kurt Vonnegut. I'm a big Kurt Vonnegut fan. I'm not afraid to admit that. There's a lot of people out there. It's like, haha, yeah, you like Kurt Vonnegut or you like 14, haha. And it's like, dude, Kurt Vonnegut, he's funny. He's actually like hilarious a lot of the time. Um, I like it. I like laughing at stuff that's really sad but true. And that's why I enjoy Kurt Vonnegut, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. Granted, I don't know. Maybe it hasn't aged all that well. It's actually been a really long time since I've read some Vonnegut, but I do enjoy Kurt. Um, Getting some cool lines here on my man, on my dude. Who else out there? Other classes. Moving along. So that was the Bard Artificer. We can skip Bard because if you're just doubly a Bard, like, I just don't know. So that means Bard Barbarian, which is one we've talked about before in the Barbarian episode. You know, you have the Scald, obviously this dude who's recording these heroic tales. It would be cool to do like some cave painting stuff, right? Even like get away from the music, but kind of do like this graffiti cave painting sort of thing where it's like you just leave a record of where you've been, and like you recount the like monsters that were there and the fights and trials and tribulations you faced as you dealt with them. That could be like cool, leaving behind like some primitive man like cave painting stuff. I think that could be like a fun sort of bard. Yeah. um maybe all honestly, guys, maybe that's what it is like if you want to play a cool bard, just don't sing, right? Yeah, dance bard, right? That's a good one too. That could be a good one for a barbarian, right? As a martial artist and stuff, one of the things, I practiced capoeira for a really really long time, trained capoeira for like over 10 years. And this idea of like indigenous, it's, I guess, not indigenous people's dance, because they're not indigenous. They were taken from their land, and then they created capoeira as a means of resistance. Um, but that sort of idea where it's like tribal war dances, indigenous people's war dances, things like that. That's pretty cool. Final Fantasy has always had like the class dancer, right? Which is like super random. It always seems super random, but I think would be like an interesting take on a bard. So maybe that's all it is right there, is just break away from the idea of just singing, and do some other kind of performance, whether it's art or dancing or who knows what. So that's Bard and Barbarian, which brings us to Bard Cleric. Oh gosh. Bard Cleric is a really fast way to get me to say no at a table, I think. Um, no. I think it's fine. No, Bard Cleric's fine. I think that would be cool. I don't know if I've ever seen one. I like the idea of it. Um, just like being really evangelical and knowing all of like the songs and psalms of your religion, and being able to like get people to go in on that. That's cool. I do enjoy that sort of thing. Dude, that's really good. That's a good one, Ross, man. Yeah. The eulogist. Oh gosh. Perform Eulogy is like that's oh man, that's a good character. Perform Eulogy right there. I'm gonna have to write that one down. Um, very intense, very dark, but that's how I like it. Um, you can like perform really great um kind of like oratory performances and stuff and like move people to tears, but it's always like very heartfelt and sad and like that's heavy. Yeah, dude, I love the ceremony spell. I think the ceremony spell is one of my favorite spells in 5th edition. It's just a really just good flavor, right? And like very like real. Just that long ritual. It's got like good utility. Just super cool. Next is that's Bart Druid, I believe, right? Bart Druid. I don't think I've ever seen Bart Druid. I guess it's probably because of like the arcane and divine types of casting, like overlapping and requiring two different like spell things, or at least from a book mechanics kind of way. Style though, again, that kind of goes with like the cave paint, maybe like the cave painter kind of like primordial sort of thing, and or like the idea though too of like like you do performances when you like shapeshift into animals, right? Like doing your shape change into bird and then like singing a bird song and it being like this very like inspiring kind of performance, or like shape changing into a rooster and then like doing a performance in the morning where you like wake up all of your party and you cast whatever invigorating spell that's going to give everybody like their temporary hit points for the day, or um, just like random stuff like that. That could be really fun. That could be really cool. Uh, right? I think what you would want with that is definitely not doing the performances while you're a human, you know? Yeah. Um, doing these performances while you're in like beast mode or something like that could be kind of neat. I don't I'm not too sure on that one. That would be a cool one, guys. Throw some comments, please. By all means, throw like a comment in this YouTube video. Get it a little bit of give it some make it a little bit engaging, And let's talk about those Bard Druids out there in the world and how they make their perform rolls and how they're going to grant their party inspiration in beast shape. If you're an otter, right? Oh, man. Or just like shape shifting into like a really cute animal, right? Or a really fierce animal. Like, you shapeshift into like a lion or a bear and you just like let out like a roar and inspire your like teammates with that. That's cool. I'm into that a lot. Um, Especially if you have like a primal style party, maybe like you have that other in the all bard party, right? When you are the Bard Druid and then you shapeshift into the animal that is the same as the barbarian's totem. That's cool, Would be a lot of fun. Would be very inspiring, I think. Uh, Bard Druid. I guess that brings us to Bard Fighter. Hmm. I think Bard Fighter immediately brings me to kind of like Gladiator. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Love the Haka. Love watching videos of the Haka. Uh, Bard Fighter, just a good one, right? Kind of a good mix. Probably like pretty classic. I think I'm super excited for the fighter video, guys. I'm super excited for the fighter video because I just think fighters are like the best class. I'm so excited to talk about having a party of all fighters and how it's the coolest possible thing, right? I'll save. I'm not gonna spoil. I don't want to spoil anything, but Fighter's awesome because it's just so damn diverse. Like, you could literally just have, you're just defined by the weapon that you're holding. Like, the weapon that you're holding is like full of tropes and cliches and different ideas in itself, and it's like this wonderful, crazy kind of thing. Uh, oh man, yeah. But Bard Fighter, I don't know if that's what Gunhilder is in Lands Below or not. I don't know if Gunhilder actually. No, Gunhilder doesn't have Bard levels. She just has Fighter levels. But she does like all the chronicling and stuff, and is very much trying to go for this like Valkyrie kind of appeal, which is really cool, and I'm all about it. Uh, what's another one? What's after Fighter, guys? What's after Fighter? Is it Monk? Does Monk come after Fighter? I think it's Monk. Bard Monk is like another one that I've never seen and I don't think has ever been played. Monk is crazy because if you're trying to build like a statistically like optimized monk, you have to have wisdom, dex, and then probably con on top of that, right? It takes a lot of ability scores to like really try to build like a super crazy optimized monk. And then that makes it crazy to multi-class because then you're missing out on all of your different monk abilities that are always really good and like revolve around not wearing armor and so on and so forth. Um, but Bard Monk would be cool. Bard Monk is just the Green Ranger, right? Bard Monk is the Green Ranger, and you just like summon the Dragon Zord up out of the ocean to go and like do battle with your foes. Um, that's literally the only Bard Monk I can think of, and it's probably the best Bard Monk and probably one of the best bards and best monks. So, thank you, Jason David Frank. Jason David Frank, man, the guy with three first names, hell of an actor. Tommy, the White Ranger, the Green Ranger. I think at this point, I wonder if he's been like every color of Ranger at this point. I'm not sure. uh, that's Tommy. We got to, so that was Monk. We'll finish him out and then we'll call it here. So I think next is Paladin. I always skip Paladin. Bard Paladin, right? Again, not too far off from Cleric, right? I think you kind of just gotta like keep it in the same vein as the Cleric. You're gonna go on crusades, and everybody is gonna know about it, right? That's gonna be your whole shtick there as the Bard Paladin. Uh, Bard Ranger. I feel like it's been a long time since I've read Lord of the Rings, but I'm sure Aragorn sang a song or two, and that maybe gives him like at least one level of bard. People are always singing in Lord of the Rings and stuff. It's a good way to pass time. So, I think Bard Ranger is cool. I'm thinking how the stats work together there on that. Still got that charisma in there. Um, oh yeah, throwing it back to Bard Monk. Yeah, you that could also be like a capoeira kind of thing, right? Where right you incorporate the music and the performance. It's kind of a little bit like capoeira in D&D terms, at least. Um, Bard Ranger though. Yeah, I don't know. Playing music for the animals is cool, like right, like hunt, like training and trapping animals, like with your song in like a very Snow White sort of way. Maybe that's like a cool thing for Bard Ranger, Bard Rogue. I mean that goes together like pizza and ice cream, two delicious things that you should stack on top of each other and then maybe regret later. Um, because you're just gonna have all the skills. You're gonna be the most skilled person. you're never not going to be able to do something, right? You'll always be able to make a check. You got a lot of potential there. You can still do some damage with your sneak attack, and lots of great ways to interact in the world and in the environment. Holy cow! After Rogue, what's next? We start going down the line. We start going down the line of all those damn spellcasters that I hate. Because next is Sorcerer, right? Bard, Sorcerer, innate gift of music, Wizard. I could like really be into like a Pythagoras, like music of the spheres, math kind of bard who just listens to like math rock and like tech death and like all the worst kind of music, and like plays it all and like wants to talk to you about like sweeping arpeggios and things like that, and like the sounds that planets make as they like orbit the planes and all that sort of stuff. That could be pretty fun, and also simultaneously terrible. Warlock, right? I hope I'm on track here. I think Warlock's next. And that's cool. It would be fun to do like that would be a really fun character. Drone music bard. Yeah, man, just listening to Sunno and like just not having fun. But I'm going to throw this out here. The Warlock, because also those are 2 charisma classes, right? So they would like mechanically stack very well. But the Devil Went Down to Georgia, like Bard, who has like the infernal like patron, and then like is literally just the dude in the song Devil Went Down to Georgia, right? And like bet his soul for a fiddle and gold, and played against the devil and yada yada yada, but then didn't win and now just serves like a pit fiend. That would be fun. I think that could be a really cool character, actually. Not like super, they're not like way over the top, but it's a fun little like nod to the material. Yeah. Bard Wizard, like a chess player. Blade is an instrument. Isn't that, what's the game? Is that Guilty Gear? What's the one where, isn't there like a fighting game where like it's like an anime fighting game. It's like Guilty Gear, whatever it's called, Guilty Crown, I don't know. Where everybody has like a musical instrument and it's also like a weapon and it's a fighting game. That would be cool. I'm all about that. That would be a lot of fun. And like, the play on like an axe as like a guitar or like a musical instrument, and then wielding it as such would be pretty sick. Very stylized. I love it though. I do like that kind of stuff. Sometimes I like to get a little bit anime because I'm just a nerd like that. Hexblade. But I think the Devil Went Down to Georgia guy could be like a lot of fun. All right. Oh man. Well, guys, that was episode 10. Whoa, we did it. 10 whole weeks of this. I can't believe it. I don't know if I've ever stuck with anything for so long. We'll be back next week. I might have to take a week or two off here in the upcoming times. I'm trying to get some other videos out, and I've been running a lot of games. I ran a really fun one-shot yesterday for some new players out there. Don't know if they're still listening in or not, but I know they were jumping in and maybe like giving it a listen. But I ran a really fun one-shot for some players the other day, and it was super cool. And shout out to those guys for kind of getting in the mix. If you tuned in or if you're going to listen to this later, Joe and Jeremy, thanks for playing last night. That was a lot of fun. I think it's Matt, right? Matt was listening in and, tuned into this podcast in the beginning. So if you're still listening to this, man, thanks for watching. Everybody else, we've got, oh man, this weekend, crab cakes, right? Crab cakes usually in here. We're gonna do. We should have a lot of streams happening for different games. It's Extra Life, which is a really, really good cause. Just streaming games 24/7 and donating to children's hospitals. So we're gonna have that going on. I'm gonna run a couple one shots in there at some point. If you want in on like a one shot for that, maybe you want to like throw in like a donation or something, that would be super cool. And yeah, we'll have more information about that here within like the next day or two, because I guess Saturday's really gonna sneak up on us. Also, I have 2 campaigns starting up. I'll probably end up throwing the links in the description. I'm gonna run a version of Deep Carbon Observatory. Gotta say it at least once per podcast. My favorite module. Very excited to be running that. If I could get like 1 or 2 more players in on it, it would be really tight. There's a little bit of a cover fee for it, but it's going to be a super fun game. And then I'm starting a big sandbox open world, Lands Below. Just, again, just going to try and go like real wild with it. I'll put the link to the Roll20s in those, for those in the description. If somebody's listening later on, maybe they'll still be going, and you can, like 6 months from now, maybe you can drop in and get in on those games or something. Oh, goodness. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Week 10, episode 10, talking about bards and their shenanigans. Thanks, everybody. Keep decomposing.